Welcome to Fireside Yankees. My name is Alex with my co-host here, Nick Nielsen. Today, we're looking at the pitching. Matt Blake has done an unbelievable job building up the starting rotation, building up the bullpen. Everything is clicking on all cylinders. And offensively, when the team is down, the pitching has stepped up, the base running and defense have stepped up. Aaron Boone said it yesterday in the win over the Orioles that, when one unit is not performing well, the other one picks them up. It's a very balanced approach right now. Garrett Cole went on to say that the defense and base running were phenomenal, really helped them get over the edge, there. And I think that altogether, when you have a couple guys resting, Giancarlo Stanton was resting, Aaron Judge was DHing, didn't have the best game yesterday. Like, you need some other guys to step up, and ultimately it comes down to pitching a lot of times. And we saw another dominant performance from Garrett Cole. He allowed 2 runs, but 2 runs in 7 innings. I'll take that every single game if he could offer that.
No problem.
No problem at all, Nick. But, before we dive into the bullpen and the starting rotation, how well they've looked recently, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing really well. Honestly, last night I watched the game and I was all excited because we scored those couple runs in the first, those 3 runs in the first, and I was like, here we go. And then the rest of the game was just crickets. So I was like, all right, well, at least the first inning was exciting. But no, you hit the nail on the head. This team is just better on all facets this year. And it's not just hitting, because I know hitting is a really integral part. And a lot of people had problems with the Yankees hitting for the longest time. I mean, how couldn't you? But now it's like they're hitting well. They're running the bases exceptionally well. They're playing really good defense. Like, I believe their BSR is above average right now. I want to say top 12, top 13 in baseball. And last year it was bottom 5. So that's a huge improvement. Defensively, we're looking better across the board. And it all starts with pitching, like you said. Pitching wins championships. There's a reason that when you look back at like the World Series winners, you look at their rotation, you look at the guys that stepped up, you look at their bullpens, and a lot of the time they were dominant. Like, Madison Bumgarner is one of the greatest postseason players of all time, and there's a reason the Giants won those 3 World Series, because Madison Bumgarner. I mean, yeah, and other people, yes, but so I think that it cannot be stated enough how important it is to have not just a solid ace, but a solid 1 through 5 and a solid bullpen behind him. Like that's what the Yankees have done this year. People were looking at the rotation, like, especially in the offseason, like, let's trade Manaea, or let's trade for Manaea, let's trade for Montes. I was one of those people. Let's trade for Castillo or Maile. Like, let's get another arm, because I don't know if I trust Severino. And now you look at the rotation, and it's like, I'd say Severino's the worst performing one currently, but he's still been phenomenal. Like, I don't know, man. You can elaborate a little bit more on this, but I feel like 1 through 5, I feel very comfortable and confident with whoever's on the mound out of those 5.
Yeah, I mean, look, when we entered the season, there were not many people that thought this rotation was going to hold up the way it has, right? Severino coming off 2-3 seasons of injury-riddled play. Nestor Cortez with 1 legitimate season of dominant play.
Like 80 innings too, or like 90 innings too.
Yeah. So are we really supposed to depend on that? Jameson Tyone, the torn ligaments, the shoulder inflammation, like he's been had a myriad of different injuries that they've had to supplement. Where, and like Jordan Montgomery, he's been pretty consistent for the most part. He's gotten better this year, and Garrett
needs
Cole
more run support.
Needs more run support. Domingo German was a guy that people thought would be a starter, and he's been on the 60-day IL this whole time. So
I don't know what we do now with him coming back, because I was thinking about that. I'm like, where does German fit on this team? Out of the rotation, like, he doesn't take anyone's spot. Domingo German, even at his best, is like, okay, he's pretty good.
He's average.
He's always had the stuff, but he's never had the ability to put it together. And I worry that German is one of those guys that can't go through the order a third time, kind of like a la Tanner Houck and them, where once you get past the 4th inning or whatever, it's collapse.
Because they figure you out.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's how German is. He pitches really heavy curveball, occasional four seam, and occasional changeup. And if you rely on your curveball a lot and you can't locate it, you're not going to be able to go through the order twice even.
Right. So, when you're looking at Domingo German, like, I don't know exactly what his role is. Maybe he comes in as a bullpen guy, because if he can't last, 4 innings, maybe he could be that mid-inning, kind of that middle inning kind of relief guy that can go 2-3 innings, like Michael King has been for us. So,
yeah.
But specifically, the top performers this year that have just taken unbelievable steps forward: Clay Holmes, Nestor Cortez, Michael King, and even you could throw in Luis Severino. So I want to take a look at Luis Severino. He's been, like, as you said, the worst performer of the bunch. 28 years old. Over the last 3 years, he's pitched 18 innings since 2018. Of course, now he's pitched 34.2 innings. Has a 3.63 ERA, which still would be a great starter for most teams.
It'd be awesome.
77.8% left on base rate. His strikeouts are a little bit down at 9.87 per 9. compared to like 10.35 back in 2018, but still
Mhm.
okay. His walks are about career average, a little bit above career average. He's
Yeah.
given up some homers, but
That's the thing. His
ultimately,
home run per nine is a bit high right now. I think it's like a 1.3 or 1.4 for Seve
right,
on the season. And that's definitely not what you want to see. I mean, you don't want him going out there and essentially giving up a home run per start.
right, of
Excuse me.
course.
Sorry, got the raspy voice today. But you also do want to see everything else that he's doing because everything else has improved from, especially even last year, even though he appeared for like 2 weeks in the bullpen. There were some people that were like, I don't know if Severino's gonna ever be able to make it back in this rotation. I don't know what it's gonna look like. His contract's up next season. We're not gonna bring him back, yada yada. And now you look and it's like Severino's ERA is the lowest in the rotation at I think 3.5. And then you look at his FIP and his Sierra, and they're both better than that. So it's like he's getting a little bit unlucky, even. And then, of course, you look at some of the defense that's been behind Severino, and I don't know what it is, but I feel like whenever Severino's on the mound, the defense just plays its worst. Like, I think there's been 2 games now where there's been 2 or 3 costly errors that have just kind of derailed Severino's mojo and start. And I don't feel like that's happened with anyone else because we had the Donaldson play where he tried to throw it to second and threw it into center field, and that was following another error. And then we had the IKF error with Gleyber Torres when Luis Severino was on the mound. So it's like, hopefully, people can start giving Severino some more like support defensively, kind of like they can keep giving Monty support offensively. Because it's like once those two things click, this team will be like a machine that cannot be slowed down. And you have to thank Matt Blake for this. Like you cannot like I know like last year and in 2020 especially, there are a lot of people that were like, should we start worrying about Matt Blake? He hasn't really had that effect that we had expected him to have. I mean, this guy literally, like, I know it sucks now because he's a tool, but this guy had an instrumental effect on Trevor Bauer, Shane Bieber, Mike Clevenger. Like a lot of very good arms came through the Matt Blake teaching academy, where it's like when he was promoted in the Guardians organization, everyone knew that this guy was for real. He was legit. He prided himself on the analytics, the metrics. Loved to look at RPM, work on arm release, arm slot, the expected velocity. So he looks at all of those things like a true student of the game, and we're seeing the results pay off with Clay Holmes, with Mike King, with Nestor Cortez and Luis Severino. And honestly, like the whole rotation, the whole bullpen, I feel very comfortable with everyone except for Aroldis Chapman. And I think it's amusing because I think Aroldis Chapman is the one pitcher that has spoken with Matt Blake the least. I could be mistaken on this, but I feel like Aroldis kind of has that, I know what I'm doing. I got my shit down. I've
He's
been
been
playing
around for a
for
while.
15 years, 10, 15 years. I don't need you. And now we're kind of seeing the other guys that have listened to Matt Blake succeed beyond measure, and Aroldis is falling off of a cliff into perilous disaster.
Yeah, but you know what? It's weird though because Aroldis Chapman is like, he doesn't have to change. He's been a dominant closer
Yeah.
for such a long time. When you look at him as a player, he doesn't need to change anything,
No.
right? Matt Blake doesn't need to help him change anything. He's
Just
already
mental
great.
demons.
He's okay. That's the thing. Like he had the velocity, like it's down a little bit, but the control is weird. Like he's
That's what I don't
lost
get.
control of his fastball, which
Like
doesn't make any
entirely.
sense.
Like he throws it and it's
Entirely,
like one comes
it's
over the
going
middle of the
anywhere.
plate and you're like, oh
Yeah,
God. And then one's just
yeah.
like high and
And then he's got a
inside, like 4
slider
feet
in.
off. And it's like, what the? And then you like hang a slider and it's like a Roldis.
Mhm.
What is happening? Before it used to be, I'm going to throw 3 fastballs high and inside and you're not going to be able to hit any of them. Now it's like I throw 94, then I throw 92, then I throw 97, then I throw a slider that's 6 feet off the plate, then I throw one that's right down the middle. So it's like then
It's
I
all
guess that's
random.
what he doesn't need Matt Blake. You're absolutely right. And I'm not saying he does need to talk to Matt Blake. I mean, not everyone needs a pitching coach to help them out, but that's what he's there for. He's there to help you out, to give you advice, and to try to get it so you don't implode every time you take the mound. And that's what we're seeing with like guys like Clay Holmes, though. Like when we got Clay Holmes, you remember we did the whole episode on him a couple of days ago. Go check it out if you haven't yet. He's literally transformed entirely under Matt Blake. So it's like if you have an example essentially for every bad example of like someone that's not doing really well under Matt Blake, I think there's like 8 good examples, if that makes
Right.
sense.
And they're all most of them are young guys or coming
Mhm.
off of injury. Aroldis Chapman's neither of those. So like
No.
Chapman right now, and then that's a legitimate question to ask. We just asked it on Twitter. Would you prefer, and I'd love to hear from your opinions in the YouTube comments, would you prefer that the Yankees utilize Clay Holmes as their primary closer over Aroldis Chapman moving forward, based on the fact that I was watching the game the other day, there's 2 outs in the 9th inning, and I said to my friend, he's going to blow this game right now. Back-to-back singles, suddenly a run is in, there's a guy on second and third. He got so lucky that pop out to DJ LeMahieu, in foul territory. That could have easily been a game-ending like situation, because he was just hanging sliders. Like, we're talking hanging them into the middle of the plate over and over and over again, and just couldn't throw his fastball. He was throwing them over the catcher. Like, the guy was so
I just don't get it. Like, I don't get why. Because again, when he's on, I you can literally check back my like tweet mentions for Aroldis, and I tweeted, when he's on, there's no reliever better in baseball. And that was granted the first week or two of the season, so we hadn't seen the full demise. But at this point, it is very worrisome when you look at all the advanced metrics and peripherals with Aroldis Chapman, and there is no reason he should be in high leverage, huge innings. That's the problem. Like, I'm fine if he's the closer when we're up 3 or 4 and it's 7, 8, 9 coming up to bat, even though he'll probably walk one of them. But when it's the heart of the order, the 1, 2, 3, or the 2, 3, 4, whatever, in no way do I want to see Aroldis Chapman strut out to that mound. Like, he has not earned the right to be the closer right now. And that's the sad thing, is that Aroldis probably believes he has because of his history and the work he's done. He is a Hall of Famer. Like, no one's taking that away from him. But like all good things, it must come to an end. Aroldis Chapman is no longer that elite dominant reliever he once was, because he has such bad control issues now. Like, and it's not like, oh, like, it's like a meh control issues. Like, he's walking 6 batters per 9 innings. Like, it's bad. So I'm fine getting, say, Clay Holmes up in there. Honestly, another guy that I wouldn't mind seeing get more high leverage usage would be Miguel Castro. Jonathan Loaizaga is another perfect example of someone that succeeded under Matt Blake. I know a lot of people worry about Jonathan Loaizaga this year. That is mainly because of control issues as well. Like, if you look at his sinker, it has a ton of rise on it this year, and it didn't have that at all last year. So when he throws a sinker, instead of being like bottom corners, it's now going high middle of the zone. So he's going to figure that out. And last year, we saw how good Jonathan Loaizaga was because of Matt Blake. Not because entirely, but because of Matt Blake's presence. Like, people need to understand the difference between having him now and having Larry Rothschild when we had him. Like, it is night and day how much better our pitching's been the past few years than it was in the 2010s with Larry Rothschild. Rothschild.
Yeah. It's just new age coaching. And like, looking at Aroldis Chapman, his velocity's down more than a whole mile per hour. It's down 1.3 miles per hour from last year. And that's like, what
worrisome.
That's either injury, is it father time? Like, who knows exactly what's happening with Aroldis? Maybe he's just getting freaking old. Like, it could just be that.
He's like 35, isn't he?
He's been 34
forever.
He's 34. He's getting older. Eventually, that velocity is going to fall off a little bit. Clearly, it took a big step backward this year. I mean, 1.3 miles per hour at that level, 98 to 96 point whatever, is a huge difference.
Because that means that he's throwing a lot of 94s, 93s now.
Right.
And last year, he threw like none.
He throws a couple of hundreds, like,
but
every
last
now and
year
then, but they're going anywhere.
The only time he threw 93, 94 last year, I feel like, was when it was late in the season and he was like struggling to find it, and he'd throw slow to try to locate better. This year, it's like he's throwing slow, not because he's trying to locate better, but because he just cannot throw the ball as hard anymore. And then one time, like you said, he pumps 100. Like, I feel like I've seen him throw 100 the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season and not since.
He
like,
threw
it's
100
a bit of
recently in the most recent loss, but it was just I think it hit the dirt. It was like really
low.
Oh
yeah, it was one of those ones.
It was just like he put everything behind it, but there was just nothing. There was no control. Like, he's like hoping it darts a corner. Yeah,
he's locked up, I believe, for just the rest of this season, and he said he wants to extend and be a Yankee. Unfortunately, I don't see that in the cards. I just don't see how we have any money to give Aroldis Chapman to be a Yankee.
Not a chance,
especially because we've rid away from giving bullpen contracts out now, which I think is awesome, because we were one of the teams that spent the most on bullpens for the longest time. And all those contracts kind of bit us in the ass. So the people that we have that we've like promoted from within, traded for, worked on, are all our best arms.
2025, making the legit, or Zach Britton. Eventually, he's going to make a comeback. I don't even know.
He's apparently making a really quick comeback. Like, he was throwing from 120 feet today or yesterday.
That's pretty great.
He's ready to. That's the other thing. Like, Britton may be joining this bullpen in June, or early June. So what do you do with the Aroldis then? What do you do with, like, because we're going to have to DFA or put someone, like, release someone or send someone down, because there should be maybe an open bullpen spot right now. I don't know if it's occupado by Marinaccio
Well,
or Clark Schmidt. Like
Clark
that.
Schmidt
So
was
one of them's
not
going to get
looking
sent
bad.
down. Yeah, but
He's
one
really
of them's going
good.
to sit. But no, I don't disagree. But what are you going to do with Britton? Like this guy we have
I
under
mean,
contract, and when he's good,
Clark or Marinaccio will go down.
yeah, and when Britton's
Regardless.
good, he's very good. Like we saw
He's very
prime.
good.
He may not be prime Britton anymore because of his injuries, but even when he played for us, he induced so much soft contact,
A lot of
and
ground
no
balls.
one. Yeah, he had the highest ground ball percentage in baseball with us.
He's a
Like,
specialty pitcher, though,
mhm.
because you can use him you can use him specifically against lefties, right, to close out innings. Like you can use it, but he can also go an inning or two. Like he's
Yeah,
capable. If he's on, he's on. If he's off, then you move on. You put him in at the end of an inning. That way you can get out of it,
yeah,
afterwards. So when you're looking at him, it's like when he comes back, that's going to be great. And one of those guys will unfortunately have to be sent down. And if he struggles, then they'll bring him back. They'll bring a guy back up. But like
mhm.
right now, I think that Clay Holmes definitely has earned the right to maybe get some of those closing opportunities, which he did last night. I think it was more of a rest day for Aroldis. But the thing about the Yankees is Aaron Boone tends to force feed players when they're struggling. Joey Gallo, even Stanton in the past, and that's okay because the more reps theoretically, baseball is kind of a game of reps, and the more you're going to see, the more you're going to pitch, the more pitches you're going to take. If you're a batter, the better you're going to start to see the ball, and the better your control theoretically will get, especially if there's no injury involved. So I think that's the method they're going to follow. They need Aroldis Chapman to be good this year.
Yeah,
if we're in the postseason and he's blowing ninth inning leads in the playoffs, we're screwed. They need him to get his shit together. So, just want to talk about the starters quickly here. When you're looking at the starting rotation, of course, Garrett Cole's still the ace. I'd say Nasty Nestor's been a close second. You could even say he's the ace so far this season, just by performance-based results. He has been otherworldly. He's the only pitcher this year to have more than one game with 8 strikeouts and one hit or fewer. Over to start this year. So he's been insane. 11 strikeouts per 9, 90.6% left on base rate, 36.3% ground ball rate, the best it's been basically in his entire career.
And that's big. That 36.3% ground ball rate. Because everyone hated last year how Nestor would give up a home run at start and how he basically say if you when they get out a lot of time, they're going to pop it up. They're going to hit fly balls. Right. Now it's you're going to hit the ball on the ground because I'm pitching better than I ever have, and you can't hit me. So 36% is huge, especially for Nestor. That's awesome.
Yeah. What's interesting though, this is really weird. Okay, they've tried to tweak his velocity to throw batters off. They tried to find there's some sort of advanced analytics going on here where the actual velocity is playing a psychological role in this entire style because there's no reason that his slider should be averaging out at 76.3 miles per hour. If we throw it at about 15%, it's only going 76. Last year was at 85.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, they must have told him.
Purposeful slow velocity, right? Purposefully throwing those.
And it looks like it's working.
Because think about it. If you think about okay, that's the unpredictability factor, right? Because if you have your fastball going 90.5, but your for example, but your slider is going 85, there's only a 5 mile an hour differential. So you're seeing the speed similarly. It's just curving, or it's not curving. If you have a 90 mile an hour fastball and it's the same arm slot as a 76 mile an hour slider, the speed differential is totally the depth of it is totally different. You're going to be swinging early on it. He's getting a lot of production out of that. He's also throwing his cutter 40% this year, man.
The cutter is his best pitch. His cutter is insane.
This is the first year he's ever threw a cutter. This is crazy.
And I can't help but feel I know it's probably Matt Blake may not have had anything to do with this, but I cannot help but feel if you're a pitching coach, you want your pitchers to do really well, so you tell them what pitches to throw and what pitches not to throw. Clay Holmes, we talked about it. Do not throw the curveball anymore, dude. He stopped, and now he's one of the best relief pitchers in baseball. Mike King, throw the sinker more and work on your whirly-twirly slurve. What's he been doing? Throwing those two a lot, and he's one of the best relief pitchers in baseball. And then now, with Jonathan Loaizaga, I guarantee you we're going to be seeing Jonathan. Just throw curveball, just throw sinker. Don't work on anything else. And then he's going to become one of the best relief pitchers in baseball again. I don't know what it is, but there seems to be something in the water in New York. They're all pitching very, very well. Someone mentioned, what the hell happened to Wandy? We haven't seen Wandy Peralta in weeks, I feel like, and he's still a good relief pitcher. What happened to him? I don't know. But, our worst pitcher is Chad Green, and for the years we got the prime years out of Chad Green, these past couple years especially, that's because we used him well, and it was Chad, fastball, curveball. That's it. And now, unfortunately, Father Time, I do think catching up to Chad
Dead
Green.
arm.
His arm's just getting. I feel bad because he's got abused, but he's really he's been a great pitcher for us. And if you say otherwise, you should definitely look back at some of Chad Green's highlights for the past couple of years.
He's been great, man. I mean, look,
And the
he gives
guys
up an occasional homer, but
we get
okay.
so Matt Blake can work on them. Like we got Miguel Castro, and I guarantee if Miguel Castro went to like 90% of other teams, he would just be a back end arm that gets like 25 innings this year and struggles. But with us, we're like, Miguel, we know how to work with you. We know what you have. All of our guys in the bullpen essentially have very similar repertoires to what you have. So just do what they do and you'll find success. And what's happening? Miguel
Right.
Castro's found success.
Yeah.
So it's like
Goes fast, man. He's a high velocity
starter,
pitcher.
bullpen. Nestor's just in my opinion, the prime example of a beautiful cornucopia of success from Matt Blake.
Yep.
Because granted, you look at what he did with the Indians or the Guardians now with Clevenger and Bieber, and those are all fantastic success stories as well. I mean, Shane Bieber won a Cy Young because of the tweaks that he learned from Matt Blake. And now we have Nestor Cortez that may win a Cy Young because of the tweaks that were made with Matt Blake. So I just
Keeps
love
like
it because it's
this.
coming full circle. It's like the circle of life. I mean,
Circle of Blake.
the circle of Blake.
It's a circle of Blake, man. They have completely exceeded expectations, and they continue to do it. If Jonathan Loaisiga comes around and starts pitching like we know he can, this bullpen is going to be. I mean, they're already considered one of the best,
Yeah.
if not the best in baseball. If Jonathan Loaisiga comes around and Chapman finds his groove again, this is going to be the best bullpen in baseball by far, and
Because the
they are going
Yankees
to
have
be
a
insane.
2.7 bullpen as a team, 2.7 ERA as a team,
Right.
like as a whole team, and that's with Jonathan Loaisiga's 5.52 ERA weighing it down.
And
So
Marinacio's 11.25.
okay, now don't come for Ron. You come for Ron.
I like Ron. But I'm just saying
Ron is not major league ready right now. Unfortunately,
I mean, even Lucas Luch has not even gotten on much action lately. Like they're completely like but also it's fair to point out the starters have been carrying them 6-7
they
innings.
go like 6-7 innings now,
which is insane. It takes so much pressure off the bullpen.
I dream for times like this.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see how this team continues to develop. Matt Blake has done a phenomenal job, but we will continue to update you guys on the progression of the bullpen, the starting rotation, anyone or anything that stands out analytically or just performance based. We got you guys covered as always. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, taking a look at the Yankees as a whole, their pitching unit. I do think that they will make some sort of move at the deadline, try to offload some of these guys that maybe not are maybe not producing as much as they thought they would. So I'm curious to see how Brian Cashman, acts during the trade deadline and what positions they do allocate towards. So
Phillies need a reliever. Let's give them a Roldis. You give us Bryce, we'll give you a Roldis.
Sounds like a good deal to me. Sounds like a good deal to me. But guys, make sure to like and subscribe below on the Apple, Spotify, and YouTube as well. Love to hear your comments on YouTube. Always respond to them, and much love as always. Trying to make this thing big, make it grow. Hopefully, we're producing good content for you guys. If you guys have any recommendations or feedback for us, we'd love to hear it. As always, trying to build a community for you and do some fun stuff. So, as I said, make sure to like and subscribe below, and we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.